That's the funny thing about socialism in America. When it becomes popular, people forget that it's socialism. Medicare is socialism. It is a classic European-style socialist healthcare system. Social Security is socialism. It was invented in Germany by Bismarck and brought to this country and wrangled into law in 1935 by a woman who began her political life as a member of the Socialist Party. Frances Perkins was the first woman member of a president's cabinet. And when President-elect Franklin Delano Roosevelt asked Frances Perkins to come to Washington with him as his Secretary of Labor, she presented him with a list of demands for the Roosevelt agenda. And Social Security was on her list. When Frances Perkins was doing the real work of pushing Social Security through the Congress, opponents attacked the idea by calling it socialism, which it was and still is. But Social Security is popular, and so it's not socialism anymore in the American mind. Since the Social Security Act was passed with a bipartisan vote in 1935, the governing argument in this country, and in every country in the world, has been how much socialism should we have, and how much capitalism should we have. Economists will tell you that every country in the world is what they call a mixed economy, a mix of capitalism and socialism. There is good socialism and bad socialism. And the very worst socialism is sports socialism. We live in a country where a $37 million pitcher plays in a stadium within walking distance of the White House that cost taxpayers $670 million. And you have never heard Donald Trump complain about that. In the last 20 years, 23 National Football League teams have spent an average of $250 million in taxpayer money for the building of new stadiums or the rebuilding of stadiums for a total of $5.7 billion. And that is the same amount of money that President Trump wants to get to begin building his wall on the southern border. Well, sorry, Mr. President, that money's already gone. We used it to build walls around Tom Brady's playpens. And the people inside of those walls are very, very rich. The richest man in the world was at the Super Bowl on Sunday, reveling in a skybox paid for with taxpayer money, surrounded by other super rich men. Everyone on the field is rich, coaches, players. The fans in the seats at the Super Bowl are the richest fans in America. But they need taxpayers to subsidize this giant industry called football? What if we didn't? What if we didn't pay for their stadiums? The Los Angeles Rams actually ran that test for us. Politicians in Los Angeles were doing everything they possibly could to come up with hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money to get the Rams to move to Los Angeles. And Los Angeles politicians were doing that at the very same time that they were telling Los Angeles school teachers they did not have enough money to raise their salaries. And then what happened? Los Angeles taxpayers refused. Los Angeles politicians could not convince their taxpayers to pay for a new stadium for the Rams quickly enough. And so the owner of the Rams just went ahead and started building one anyway with his own money. Because like all NFL owners, he's wicked rich. He's rich enough to build another stadium right now somewhere else, wherever he feels like. And so the Rams will play in a new stadium that the taxpayers did not pay for. And so that must mean that the Rams players will get paid less because the taxpayers didn't pay for their new stadium, right? They can't have enough money left over to keep paying the players a lot of money. But the funny thing is, there's so much money in the football business that the Los Angeles Rams, who had to pay for their own stadium, can still afford to pay the highest salary that was on the field at the Super Bowl, their $22.5 million defensive tackle. There is no stupider form of socialism in America than sports socialism, and there is no better form of socialism in this country than Social Security and Medicare, and people know it. And that's why Medicare for All is so popular. And Donald Trump calling Medicare socialism is not going to make it any less popular. The rich get richer at the Super Bowl. Our richest companies attract more customers by advertising during the game for $5 million per 30-second spot. An already very rich entertainer jumped around the stage with his shirt off for several minutes to push up the value of his brand to make him richer. The network running the Super Bowl took in $382 million in revenue in one night. The rich got richer in America on Super Sunday, all thanks to sports socialism and the good socialistic ideas like 8-hour workdays, the socialistic ideas that actually improve people's lives like Medicare and Medicaid continue to be popular in America, just as long as everyone pretends that they're not socialism. That's tonight's last word. The 11th Hour with Brian Williams starts now.